Today we're going to be talking about keeping your animals in your field. Of course, you're going to need some kind of a fence, and there's different types of fencing that you can use. That'll be the topic of another discussion. And the other thing that you need gates so that you can get in and out as well as the animals. Now, one thing you want to make sure you're doing, as you can see here, got the hinge pin facing down, got the hinge pin facing up. If you have them both facing down, needless to say, your gate's going to fall off. If you have them both facing up, the horses can take the gate off of the hinges, which is a pain in the butt, especially if it's a big gate and you're trying to put it on by yourself. Been there, done that. But with one facing down and one facing up, it's almost impossible. Now, once you've got the gate on, the other thing that you need to do is to make sure it stays shut. A lot of your gates will come with this sort of setup. You've got your chain attached, and there are different ways that this can be then attached on the other end. This one has this fancy little thing right here. It's got the hoop, and then the chain can go off and on. The idea of that is so that the animals can't get to it. I'm going to admit I don't really like this setup. Depending on how your fence is set up, that can be a pain in the butt. They've got a pallet here because they didn't have a gate that was quite big enough, and it's impossible if you're on the other side to really reach that to open the gate. In fact, if I ever had to go out this way, I'll admit I climbed the fence. So now we're going to look at another way that you can close this type of gate. Here's the same setup, but this time they have the chain wrapped around a 4x4. And that can work fairly well, but this can be a pain in the neck. You have to undo that, take it off, open the gate and go through. And if your hands are full, you've got a bunch of feed scoops or what have you, that can be a nuisance. Like I said, I don't really like that setup, but it does work. Another thing you can do, you can put the two-ended snap on. Now with that, works with one hand, take it on and off. However, these snaps can have a problem. For one, you have the horses with the itchy butt. Eventually these snaps are going to break, and you could then have your horses out. Another thing is, in the winter, these can freeze. I don't know how many times I've had to try to thaw one of these out by bending down and breathing on it until I can get it to open. And of course, then when I go to open it back up again or close it again, it's frozen in place again, and I've got to do the same exact thing. So another thing I do not like. This is another gate. This had that same setup. I don't know if you can tell really what that is, but that is the metal that is supposed to have that piece of chain on it. Do not ask me how the horses did this. I got here one day and the horses were out, gate was wide open, managed to get them in, go to shut the gate and realized this is mangled. It was not usable. I think I used a piece of baling twine, and if this was on the other side, they would have had to cut that piece off because that would have been dangerous. Horses could have really hurt themselves on that, but since it's facing towards the gate, they can't, towards the wooden post, they can't really do anything about it. And you can see they've got a chain wrapped around, and so far it's been keeping the horses in. No guarantee that it'll continue. Another thing that I've seen is something similar to what I have here on the feed stall. The thing goes down. This doesn't quite line up, so I normally can't get it latched. Doesn't really matter because the horses can't get to it. But let's face it, if the horses were in this area, they would very easily be able to get that open, possibly, if they were so inclined. But I have seen video of horses where they had some type of latch similar to this, where the horse flipped it up and all the horses got out. So I'm going to look now at my favorite type. I don't know exactly what this is called. I call it a J-hook. And the idea with this, comes with this big staple put the staple in. Of course, it should actually be two ways. This goes around the gate and then goes through there. Like I said, I don't like the staple, so instead what I use a screw eye. Everything is right here. I'm able to do this one-handed. This comes off. When I go to put it back on, it goes back on. With this circle there, horses can't really get through there. Now the one thing you do have to worry about is if you've got the horses with a scratchy butt, they may very well just knock that out. I had that happen on this gate over here. I'm going to blame Licorice because the gate was open into the other horse's field. And when I got here, gate was wide open. Licorice was in that field and these horses were in this field. I could find my hook. I could not find the eye bolt, screw eye, whatever you want to call it. So what I've had to do, and I should have gotten 2 bolts, not 1, had to drill through the post. I've got it bolted on that side. Like I said, I should have had a bolt on this side because that moves back and forth. But I'm now able to latch this. Now, see, I've got extra stuff here. That is because I did not get the post quite where it should have been. And I have a problem with goats that are not mine getting in my field, as well as my goat wanting to get out. See, I've been doing what I can to keep goats where they belong. But that takes me to the end of this video. I hope you learned something. Hope you had a nice day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.